Man of Interest here, and I wanted to put a build video out for my JER-A06. Some parts were recorded before my awesome new improved audio and lighting situation, so please bear with me. I'm still working out the formatting and pacing of these build videos, so if any suggestions, please let me know. This week, I want to talk about the JER-A06. And right before I talk about this keyboard, I want to talk about the sponsor of this episode, NovelKeys. NovelKeys.xyz is an awesome shop where you can join awesome group buys like JTK Hyperfuse, DSA Katakana, and grab awesome switches like the pre-order for the cream switches or retooled MX blacks like I did in this build. Check out the shop, NovelKeys.xyz. When the JER-A06 began on June 20th, I was extremely interested in how this board would turn out. PCB mounted switches, but a top mounted PCB. And I mean, plateless is one thing, but a top mounted PCB as well? Well, it's definitely something I had to try out when I saw it, and I'm super happy that I did. The JER-A06 was run by Shower King with an extremely specific $416.71 price tag, not counting shipping. Initial number pad could also be had for $185.54. That's a bit much for a numpad for me. So when my JER arrived on November 7th, I was excited to unbox and build this keyboard up.
Here's the JER. Start off, I have a coiled cable with, what the heck? An Ethernet end. There's only four wires, so that's correct. A USB. So that looks like that's going to be my included cable. What else do we have in this box of goodies? Let's get to it. Okay, I got a PCB. Geek Maker. Oh, Geek Maker, interesting. I got JER. It says right there. Here's my PCB. Not bad, not bad. What do we got? Ah, I got notification windows for numlock, scroll lock, and caps lock in 2 different colors. Okay, I got some hardware. I open this up. Oof. Here's the case. Now I have the NCR colorway. The NCR colorway is light gray on dark gray. So if I turn this... Wait, what? I have the same... Or dark gray and light gray. It's just hard to tell because of the case, the wrapping. One gray, another gray. They're pretty close. But no, they're not that close. Okay, I'm just crazy. Well, I have all the hardware, so this all screwed together. There's one screw holding it together. Not too bad how they shipped it. And let's take that one screw out. Looks like a hex. So let me just... Why did I do that? Let me just do this in a smart way and just put the box to the side. Put this down like this. Grab the correct bit, which looks like a hex 2.0, which it is. Grab my handy dandy electric screwdriver. Oh, there's a small mark. That's rubbing off. That's a good sign. Here we go. Oh, am I missing another screw? This one maybe? I can't see the bottom of that, so I assume so. Yes. Oof. Uh-oh, wow, that looks gnarly. There's the cable channel. Here's the, oh, and that's how the PCB mounts to the top, mounts on the frame, which is crazy. That's awesome. Looks like there's more PCB mounting points too. Here's the top. Wow. Wow. How fun. What a fun unboxing. And very soon, we'll up the PCB. For the PCB, you can see the little FR4 mounting points that they have in the top and bottom. That's how you're gonna have the PCB top mounted. So by the numpad cluster, where there extra spots. I don't see them, but wow. Wow, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun.
For this build, I knew I had to use a Cherry MX switch for those old school vibes. It was either Cherry MX Blacks or MX Clears, but I decided to go for that linear life, so MX Black switches. I knew I couldn't just use them stock because that's not how I roll. I usually prefer to wear in switches, but I was in such an excited fervor, this board had to be built sooner than later. So when I finally had a free day, I had to go start working on the switches. Using my KeyBoss key opener, taking apart the retooled MX Blacks was easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I always like working on large batches like this, and I always like compartmentalizing everything into these small parts trays to keep everything nice and organized. So I disassembled all the switches, and the next step after that was to mount all the switch bottoms onto my MX switch mod station. This was actually a gift to me from a friend. You can grab one from AliExpress. But next up is lubing. For these retooled blacks, there are two parts I lubed with two different lubes. First, I bag lubed the springs with a VPF 1514. Why VPF 1514? It's a very thin lube that makes it very easy to apply a thin coat on surfaces. And why bag lubing? Because lubing springs is honestly a pain, and with lube as thin as VPF 1514, it takes a while to being shaken unlike much thicker lubes. Plus with bag lubing, I can just reuse the bag for springs anytime I want. After some vigorous shaking, I could extract all the springs with tweezers and just mount them onto the switch bottoms. Next up were the stems. The stems were lubed with switch mods 3203, and I went with a light coat all around approach with a small extra amount on the side rails. I've come to really like 3203 and it's very dependable for me, and after using it on quite a few boards, it's easily my go-to lube choice for a lot of stems these days. So the fortunate part of this keyboard being plateless is at any time I can go back and touch up any switch I need to without needing to desolder. That's awesome and makes it super easy. So after the not too arduous process of lubing the switches, it's build-in time, and oh boy, this keyboard definitely has its ups and downs. Starting in the back, we've got 8 screws that hold the top and bottom together, and when we get to the inside, there are 10 screws that are needed to mount the PCB to the top housing. For the stabilizers, I clipped and lubed them with some dielectric grease if I ever need to add or take out lube. No desoldering required, like I mentioned, easy peasy. So, and since they're all screw-in, I use nylon washers to prevent any shorts that the screws may have if they make contact with the pads. I've never had an issue with this, but it cost me $5 for 1,600 nylon washers, so I'm going to be using them every time since they're less than a cent each. Soldering the switches was really simple affair. If you're ever going to do a half plate or plateless build, use PCB mount switches, otherwise you'll have to deal with soldering one leg, checking the switch straightness, and then soldering the other pin and still ending up with a crooked switch. With PCB mount pins, making sure your switch is straight is something you only have to worry about for certain modifier keys or certain keys with a lot of different possibilities and overlapping holes, so keep that in mind. On a normal build, the first thing you should do after soldering and before you put everything back together, of course, is testing your PCB, make sure all your switches work, everything was soldered properly. Not with this JER-A06 though. That's one of the downsides. It has an integrated cable that you, well, I guess in my case me, need to solder onto the PCB. Yep, you may have noticed in the unboxing that the cable had a USB-A to RJ45. So what you gotta do? I cut the RJ45 connector off to reveal the 4 USB wires I would need to solder onto the PCB. So here's the process I basically did. Cut the wire, strip each of the 4 wires to reveal the copper wire. I don't have a wire stripper, I just use wire cutters, it's all the same, but not. Next, I twisted the copper strands to make them nice and neat before applying a little bit of solder to the copper strands. If it wasn't late at night, I probably would have remembered it would have been easier to just dip them in flux. It's okay though. Next, apply solder to the respective pads that need to be soldered, and then solder those wires onto their pads. It's more tedious than anything, and I actually messed up my first time, leaving a bit too much exposed wire, so they'd end up touching and shorting when I went to plug in the keyboard, meaning I just have keys misfiring or not firing at all. So after working on the cable again, doing it properly, had a working PCB, tested everything, good to go. A last annoyance though before I had to close up the case was there's a bit of extra cable sleeve that you need to shave off, otherwise the case won't close properly. You might have noticed in my typing sounds video, the case on the back shots wasn't closed properly, and that was before I shaved that off. For the LED notification area, I didn't have any LEDs in hand, but I still mounted the little plate for that with the sticker on top. I do want to find some green LEDs in the future for that old school vibe. So finally, with all of that done, everything soldered in, put together, all the screws in, GMK Dolch, and this is a beauty. This keyboard has an unreal typing experience that I absolutely love. Top mounted flex, and it really flexes. With all those mounting points, it has still a nice firmness to the flex. A lot less firm than a plate, but it's enough to make you feel like it has something there while having this bounce to it. I'm loving the sound, loving the heft of the keyboard at over 6 pounds. Amazing. In conclusion, the JER-A06 is an aluminum TKL. Integrated coil cable, a 4-head, so elegant the Realforce 87U is jealous. GMK Kekon Dolch for that classic colorway with modern icons. Inside is a PCB that isn't tray mounted, but top mounted to the case. There is no plate for the retooled MX Blacks to clip into, they only have the PCB underneath. This keyboard was an end of the year surprise that exceeded my expectations and make me yearn for more keyboards like it. I only have the highest praise in my initial impressions upon typing it, although the building part was a bit annoying. That's it for the video for now. If you're interested in a full review for this keyboard, please let me know. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see me do in future build videos, let me know. Do you like the narration over the fast forwarded build? Would you rather like to hear the live audio during the build? Let me know what you think. And thank you so much. If you like this video, feel free to, like, subscribe. I have a Patreon that you can support as well if you'd like. Thank you so much, and have an absolutely wonderful Wednesday.